Well, it's been over, I want to say it's been over a month. It was like the 26th or 27th of last month that I recorded and uploaded one of these. I'm not sure if I uploaded it the 26th, but I think it was the 26th the last time I recorded this. I mean, I've been busy, but I also have been unmotivated in the ways of podcast work. I haven't really had anything to talk about. I mean, I've kind of eased up on watching a lot of movies and everything because I've been dealing with college and everything, and I'm trying to stay focused on that. I mean, I still watch them every here and there, especially with Jacob. But um, as far as everything goes, I've been listening to music and everything. I've been listening to a lot of the British scene. After Oasis got back together, I had listened to definitely maybe in What's the Story, Morning Glory, but I really started listening to those again, and listening to Blur's music and listening to some Muse. I actually don't know if Muse are I don't know if they're an English band or not. I think they are. I would strike me odd if they aren't. I'll probably look that up later. I'll look stupid if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean I haven't been doing much, and oh, oh boy, I'm tired. Wow. Well, yeah, just keeping up with classes and everything, and um, yeah, it's Halloween season. It's my birthday tomorrow, but I was gonna initially record an episode tomorrow, like on my birthday, but I don't really have the want or the real patience to do that. Tomorrow is just gonna be a relaxed day. Been working on some guitar stuff, the usual works. Listening to a lot of Coheed, and listening to Coheed inspired me to actually write a story of my own. I want to get it adapted into a novella if it's good enough. I just need my friends to read it and tell me what they think. My only problem there is if I tell people to read something, what's likely going to happen is they're not going to read it, and it's just going to turn into this, it's going to turn into this thing where people skim the details and they're like, yeah, it looks great, and then, there are some glaring discrepancies between good literature and what I have written. But yeah, it's like sort of a political commentary. Not really. It's politically motivated, not by the politics that are going on in the United States currently. Like, it has very little to do with elections and everything, but it's pretty much just a cautionary against supporting ideologies and supporting ideology groups, because a lot of people throughout history have supported people and groups that have betrayed them. And I mean, I guess it is a cautionary tale that, you know, no matter what basket you put your eggs in, I mean, the basket might might end up betraying you in this case. It's kind of like quicksand. If you can go all in this quicksand, you can try to writhe around and get out of it, but that'll only get you deeper. But I mean, as far as it goes, it's got a lot of flat characters. Just it's supposed to be a short story. It was initially supposed to be a short story. It was supposed to be like 10,000 words at most. I ended up doubling that, and yeah, I mean, I definitely. Oh my goodness. I definitely am very enthused with the result, but I mean, as far as how good it is, I really have no idea. I'm looking at creating other pieces of is paraphernalia the word? Paraphernalia, like things involving like the the main place is called Yermain Frang, after the Celtic, the Gaelic words for Germany and France. I put it together because it's supposed to be like a European era, like it's supposed to be this European like place. It's not a continent attached to another continent. Like Europe and Asia are one supercontinent, Eurasia. I don't know if you would count Africa in there too, because I don't know if the Suez Canal was actually like a separation of the two continents. See, I don't know very much about the actual like where people draw the line of, okay, this is actually a full supercontinent, or this isn't a continent because of the distinctions. Like, I don't know why Europe and Asia are separate continents when they're clearly, indistinguishable on a map, as they're connected. But I'm I'm not a cartographer, and I would that be geology too, but I'm not either of those things, so I don't really know. But um yeah, it's supposed to have that like climate, or yeah, I guess climate, but it's also supposed to like symbolize a mixture of middle age and steampunk era um Europe, but it's Earth like, but it's not Earth. It has Earth features like malaria and animals and shit like that. But um, all the humanoid characters, because I suppose they're humans, but all the human creature or all the human individuals, they are not bound by earthly concepts. There's no currency. It the state Yermain Frang is supposed to, or not Yermain, Yermelt Frang. It's not supposed to resemble any like nation today. Like it's supposed to just sort of like symbolize the Soviet Union and the United States at the same time. Not so much the People's Republic of China because I don't know very much about the nation, but it's supposed to be like this ideal utopia where like I guess it is like a communist regime where there's no money but there's still a class system, so it isn't really communism, but um yeah, so there are still things like, I don't know, briberies and shit like that, and there's a system like we have in the United States. Like there's Congress, there's a cabinet, and there's not really a Congress, but there are elected officials and everything. And this is kind of like warning against political loyalty and like loyalty to a person rather than loyalty to your nation. It's very pro nationalist, but because you know before I serve the president, like I don't really serve the president. I don't really give a shit who's president as long as they do their job right and they do right by the United States. I'm an American. My loyalty unto America is undeniable and unwavering, right? And I love my country. I think it's probably the greatest nation in the world, in my opinion. I mean, we're not perfect, but to me, it's the greatest nation in the world. There are so many possibilities with our economy and all this land that we have and everything our nation stands for. There's so much there, and Yermaltfreng is very similar. And I wanted to draw some comparisons with the Soviet Union to make this like world that most Americans weren't familiar with, like causing people to think about like how would you bribe someone if you didn't have money, or how would you acquire anything without the use of money. And like yeah, I talk about that, how there used to be a monetary system in the Yermaltfreng, and how there used to be a kingdom before the republics became the republics. And just talking about the military unity, the economic unity between all the provinces as they became unitary. And I want to draw parallels between all the nations of the world. Like I want there to be comparisons of new and old drawn to like yeah, like politicians' cult of personality. Like Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, they both have cults of personality, or cults of personalities. I don't know, but like we're supposed to we're supposed to be loyal to our nation first and what our nation means, and to abandon that would be a betrayal of American ideas. But as things change within the story, it's supposed to be a realization that if you notice the ideals of your nation being betrayed, that you should take a stand against that. And I really think that's what people should do, not through like not through covert military action per se, like the story has. It's not really military action, but it's definitely political action. I'm not a big violence guy. I don't think violence has any place in the world of politics unless it comes to the usurpation, yeah, usurpation of like a fascist king or whatever. Like the you know the anybody who tears down any fascist dictatorship, do every means you can achieve it, like go through all the means you can to achieve your liberty. And I mean, liberty is important to someone like me, as someone who, as I believe in the prominence of American idealism. And you know but yeah, the story wrestles with ideas of, whether or not what your nation is doing is right. The pros and cons of an established, you know uh, government giving you orders that you're not supposed to question, you're not supposed to know very many things, you know very much about. Of course, one of the pros is you avoid bias if you're put on a mission told to do something, like a lot of our soldiers. And I would never knock the United States military, because I mean, in some of the cases in Vietnam, of course, obviously, there were people that took these frustrated aggressions against the Vietnamese people, and of course, that's definitely not okay. But yeah, but like, I would never knock our soldiers, but they are instructed to pretty much do what they're told. And I mean, whether that's right or not is completely subjective. Like the dropping of the atom bomb, I think the dropping of the atom bomb was an unneeded evil. The Japanese were beaten and battered, and they would have surrendered anyways, and we would have saved we would have saved a fifth of a million lives had the United States not intervened in, in such a way where things had unfolded the way they had. I mean, the island hopping campaign was obviously grueling, like, sieging Iwo Jima and Okinawa. It was like very difficult, and the toils of the soldiers through their plight, to establish a place of jumping off, to invade the Japanese home islands. It was definitely a scary prospect if you were a GI or a Marine getting ready to invade the shores. But I mean, even if we never stepped a single foot on Japan, Japan would have been forced to surrender. Oh, that's bad. Um, but that's yeah, that's entirely subjective. I think the development of the nuclear bomb was essential. I think developing the nuclear bomb was most certainly something that was going to, something that was going to unfold. The United States would have done it at some point, but using that on people that had no alternative, and using the nuclear bomb on anybody, it's this terrible reality. And even what we deem as aggressor nations, so many people are quick to hop to that conclusion that, like, we should nuke Russia, or we should nuke China, or we should nuke these nations. And these nations that are full of wonderful people, maybe not all of them like Americans. I've met a share of people that don't like Americans, and they are within their right to do that. But I will always hold love for all people of all nations. The world is such a diverse place, and there's really no place for hate in a world that we have here. But war will always ensue, and I have major condolences for people of both Israel and Palestine, or Russia and Ukraine, because I mean, conflict tears nations apart, and so much is lost, and it's never worth it. Even a single life is not worth an acre of land. You know, but I think something like something like warfare, it shows the darkest parts of humanity. I mean, look at all the lives lost by the Axis powers in the Comintern and even the Allied forces. Like, look at some of the Battle of how do you say this? Is it Mersal Kabir? It's an Arabic name, but I didn't know if there was a French pronunciation. I don't know what it would be in French. Mer Kabir, something like that. But where the British attacked the French fleet. That was a great disgrace. It's one of Winston Churchill's greatest blunders, despite the immense bastion of democracy that the man was. Ooh, that was a good crack. I don't know if I caught that, but despite the immense, bastion of, civilization that he was, and all of his great struggles to preserve peace in the European continent, it's incredible, and forever grateful am I for a man, even as, how do I want to phrase this? Even someone who had not been successful in his right to keep peace, and I think Austria should have stayed separate from the German Empire all along. I think the two German states, while I understand the prospect now I'm not from Germany, so my opinion on this is kind of less than what a lot of people or yeah, my opinion on this is kind of less relevant than someone from Germany, because I don't know if there is German unity campaigns today. I don't know what the state of German unity as juxtaposed to the state of opinions revolving Germanic unity were in the 1930s, or even before that, even before the Brothers' War. The state of Germanic unity in the German Empire, or all the German peoples through the Austro-Hungarian Empire and Prussia and the German states, juxtaposed, I don't know what it's like now, but I think Austria was made to be a separate nation because even, of course, they all spoke German, they were all Germanic peoples, but the people of Prussia were, a lot of them had a Slavic background, and like Ostpreußen, I think is the name of the because it's not a modern state. I have a lot of hard time, like I have a difficult time with the names, and so yeah, because it's not a modern province, but I think Ostpreußen is the name of like Eastern Prussia, and that there is the Prussian language, which is a Slavic language, and despite Gothic, despite real Gothic there, Austria hadn't had that. I think it was the Visigoths, maybe. There were Gothic kingdoms everywhere during the rise of Odoacer's kingdom of Italia. I think, yeah, I could be misremembering my history, but I think I was right there. But there are Gothic kingdoms everywhere during the fall of Rome, we'll say. And expanding upon that, that really did, those like minor differences separate people a lot. And Austria is a great nation that deserves its sovereignty. Sovereignty. That's not a word. That it deserves its sovereignty, and it deserves its flowers for its contributions to modern, society, and contributions to things like the arts. People like Mozart, and I would forget. Yeah. I think Nikola Tesla he was Croatian, but I think he was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the time. Or I think Croatia was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the time. I could be wrong, but yeah. So, there are those things to consider, but I think Austria was made to be separate, like all the Germanic states that are separate for various reasons. Like, I don't know if I support Flanders and Wallonia, like, splitting. I think Belgium, the area of Belgium is a phenomenal place, and I think all the cities in Belgium are, relatively nice places to be stationed if you're, out and about. When I say stationed, I don't mean the military capacity. I don't know very much about those things as it relates to modern military deployment. But um, yeah, like the Netherlands, England, Belgium, and all the Nordic states, all of those nations are separate from Germany, and Austria from Germany, and Liechtenstein from Germany, and Luxembourg from Germany. They're all separate because while they have a Germanic identity, um, it is important to uh, it is important to acknowledge patriation through self determination and autonomy of states. It's very important to uphold that. You know, while you know, you look at a place like Canada, like people from Quebec, they have a French background, and I mean, you look at the states in the United States, like when you ask most people from the United States, they say they're American, and I mean that's different. Yeah, you ask someone from the Netherlands what they're Dutch, right? Not German, and like I think the people of Austria have a very German identity, but it's not German from Germany identity, and that's important. And um, so yeah, I forgot what I was saying before I started that tirade on Germanic preservation, but yeah, I think it was important that Austria maintained its sovereignty, but at the same time, the quotas put on Germany following the Great War, it was very unfair. But as it stands now, I mean, all the nations that belong, or all the parts of Germany that now belong to Poland are fully integrated, and even like I think it's Silesia, Silesia and Kashubia, the parts that belong to Poland now. I mean, they've expressed their Polish identity, and I mean, while there is a lot of German background there. Uh, it's only fair after Poland was pretty much partitioned every which way after the I think it was the dissolution of the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth. It was really unfair for the Polish people, and now we have these states that are, I mean, mostly at peace. Russia and Ukraine. It's an exception. However, I mean, one day peace will come between the nations, and I hope Ukraine continues to exist as a state, and I hope Russia continues to exist as a sovereign entity. The Federation of Russia, I'm full of great people, great innovators. You know, people much like the people of the United States, and I mean that can be said of any nation. Every nation has, those free thinkers, those people that want to burst out of their bubbles and, redefine what it means to constitute a society where we are moving forward. If a man from the Russian Federation came up to me and shook my hand, I would give him the same zdravstvite that I would give a German man with a hello, or any man, woman, any individual that comes from anywhere is met with those equal standards of, like, I want this person to realize that I am their friend. I would never consider myself an enemy to the people of a country like North Korea, because while I understand that we perceive them as a dictatorship, that I feel like, I don't know this for sure because I've never been to North Korea, and I probably will never ever go to North or South Korea, although I'd love to go to South Korea. I don't know about North Korea because of mantras surrounding American tourists, if there are even such things. I don't know if American tourists are allowed to go to a city like Pyongyang. Is that the capital? Yeah, Seoul, 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 Seoul. Seoul is the capital of South Korea. I think it's Pyongyang in North Korea. Wow, my Asian geography is slipping. That's unfortunate, but yeah, like I don't know. I would never consider myself an enemy of the North Korean people, because I feel as if a lot of those people work in the in the guise of self self-preservation. They do what they have to protect their independence. I mean, I feel like if North Korea were to establish its stance on, American politics and the, everything that American politics forces upon North Korea, the summits with Donald Trump and everything, I would say that's for the better. I think that's a beneficial political, I would say that is a beneficial political outcome. But, I mean, it's still pressure nonetheless. And I think if they were to abandon that and propose reunification with South Korea, out of the blue, not that that would ever happen, but if that were to happen out of the blue, I feel like Russia and China would take that as an act of, aggression against, against them, as becoming pro-American, much as Japan, and Japan has as much a right to, be aligned with the United States as it has to be aligned with China. But I mean, all in all, I think it would be better if people just, put those differences aside, and instead of being on the side of pro Russia and China or pro the United Kingdom and the United States, that it would be very beneficial to um it'd be very beneficial to the state of the world. But there are too many names in politics right now on, I feel, both sides, where Xi Jinping, if I pronounce that wrong, I don't know if anybody that speaks Chinese or is from China or Chinese Taipei would ever see this. However, if I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. I mean no offense to the nation, but Xi Jinping is he's been very cooperative against a very pressuring government. I will say that, like, the West has been very keen on keeping their eyes on what China is doing, and China is just trying to raise their GDP and make sure things go well within the country as they see fit. Of course, there's the People's Chinese Party, or the Chinese Communist Party, which people may look at the Chinese Communist Party as an inherently, like, bad thing, and of course bad things have happened under the regime, or not the regime, the regime pronunciation. Yeah, so people look at things that have happened and associate those with terrible things. But all nations are guilty of their faults, and I think if you look at it at an entire party or an entire group of individuals that belong to a party, when they are just trying to uphold their self-determination and their liberty, as they see their liberty to be, like, to the Chinese, liberty is, I don't know, housing for all, or like a workplace for all, or food you don't really have to pay for. I don't know if any of those things are true in the Chinese Communist Republic, but I mean, given that they're a Marxist, or they're a derivative of Marxist nation, I assume, with Maoism, being a derivative of communism. I don't know if it's derivative of Soviet communism or just Western theory, Karl Marx communism. But yeah, like, I those things to that nation are what's important. And focusing on the internal affairs, I'm sure people, if those truths were evident in the Chinese nation, in Zhuanghui, um, I think they would look at something like us not having free healthcare as an abomination, and their staying out of our internal affairs is very important to us. And I'm very glad that the Chinese Communist Republic does not take action against the United States, because that would impede upon my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But as a nation that doesn't have that document saying life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, they would completely disregard that. But I do live in a nation that has that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, wherein I can take that stance. And would I ever want the United States to go into a nation spreading that rhetoric of like these are the things you should chase? It's up to the citizens of a nation, and the culture. Like we can't impose our culture among like upon other people. I mean, like if the United States was to invade Portugal for like Portuguese culture is completely different from Anglo-centric culture. Like even names. I can't remember if it's mother's first name or father's first name first, but a child inherits both last names in Spanish and Portuguese. One language like Portuguese has it one way, and then Spanish has it the other. And I think the Spanish provinces it varies. Like I think Galicia might follow Portugal's naming conventions, maybe. I could be wrong though. I'm not. I haven't really done too much research on it, but like even those things, we cannot impose our culture. Anybody that comes from another culture into the United States, like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, um, she has two last names, I think, but she hyphenates it because people in the United States don't understand that the two last name thing is something that exists in the Spanish culture. We don't have two last names here. Even the Catholic fourth name is dying, or is dying slash dead. So first name, last name, or first name, middle name, and last name, and then you have your additional like Catholic name, whatever it might be. I don't know if it always has to deal with the Bible, so it might like be Ezekiel or something, or Elijah or David or whatever. But I don't really know too much about that. I was never baptized, and I have no interest in being baptized. I agree with a lot of the things that the Bible says, but I'm not really active in a way where I really believe in those things for the time being. But I do think it's important to follow the Bible and have a good understanding of the Bible. I mean, I'm a Bible reader. I do believe in reading the Bible and reading the Quran, having a vast understanding of the Abrahamic religions through the various lenses. It's very, very important. And references to those things, it's important to understand where those references come, because they're such a big part of our society and our general perceptions. Like I don't know how snakes are viewed in a country like Indonesia, where they haven't had prolonged exposure to the Bible. I mean, when the Dutch settlers eventually brought Christianity to the Dutch East Indies, I'm sure there was a lot of exposure, but I'm sure a lot of Christianity was not passed to those people, and they might not have the negative perceptions of a snake that most people of the Western world do. And I mean, they are entitled to those perceptions, and that is a societal change that we cannot bring upon. And all nations as they exist today exist for the purpose that we have established culture, and we have established various parameters for things like language and various cultural identities. And even though most cultural identities play off of each other, like Bollywood plays off of Hollywood, or the difference, the evolution of script, like Turkey adopting, or sorry, Turkey adopting the Latin script in, I think, well, I don't know if it was slightly before or during I think his name is Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. I think Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Um, I but that is a big change, and those changes are bound to happen. I mean, I'm sure North Macedonian might someday adopt a Latin script, or a Cyrillic script, or not a Cyrillic script. They already have a Cyrillic script, or a Hellenic script, because just their neighbors. I mean, it's by proxy, but those changes have to come naturally. When the United States, not when the United States, when the United Kingdom, well, I mean, I guess with the Native Americans, the United States kind of did a similar thing. When the United Kingdom forbade the Welsh language be pretty much exterminated, and it wasn't in order that, okay, you need to kill the people that speak this language, but it was a silence of the culture, and Irish went through the same thing. Those aren't natural. Those aren't things that should happen. So say I don't know. I don't want to do this. Say France invaded Switzerland, which would be feasibly impossible because of Switzerland's defense programs, and Switzerland is pretty much a bastion of all defense, and the Federal Council is an amazing establishment. Switzerland's a wonderful place to live, right? Say France were to successfully invade Switzerland. I mean, they already speak French there, but say they were to outlaw all the other languages spoken there, like Romansh and Italian and German. English, maybe. I don't know if English is an official language there. I don't even know if Italian or German is. I think German's an official language. Schweizer Hochdeutsch. But yeah, so okay. Say that were to happen, that wouldn't be an authentic change. I mean, that's a suppression of culture. One of the things one of the things I admire the Soviet Union for is they were very open to acknowledging the existence and integrating the existence of, or not integrating the existence, integrating the various races throughout the Soviet Union, or not races, ethnicities. The various ethnicities of the Soviet Union, they were very well integrated and very well, it was a very well-known fact, kind of like the modern United States has been seen as a bastion for, like, things like, Irish people and German people and, people from Africa or wherever that may be. And, I mean, even the United States having a hand in it wasn't colonization, it was something. I don't know what the word is. It wasn't a deportation either, but in Liberia, with the Great Migration to Liberia, I mean, now we understand that our nation is a melting pot of all different individuals. Of course, these anti-ethnic groups pop up, and people that look down upon people of Spanish speaking descent, or people that look down on Muslim communities because of the September 11th, and that's just a blind way of looking at things. And I really do admire the Soviet Union's commitment to semi-commitment to racial equality. Still not really a great place to live though. But Russia's a very Russia's history in the 20th century is a very interesting one, and one I can't really get entirely right, and I really wish not to offend anybody that I wish not to offend anybody that would take my misremembering and take it as a sign of aggression. I mean peace towards all these peoples I talk greatly of, and a part of me understanding politics on a global stage is I need to understand people, not in a psychological aspect, but I need to understand that English speaking culture derives a lot from Christendom and shit that happened in from the Dark Ages on to now. That things are always changing in the English speaking world, but it's very important to establish it's very important to establish that the importance of culture and sovereignty on a global scale is it's paramount. It needs to be recognized, and it needs to be encouraged. Not every group needs to be free. There are some minority communities that really do thrive when they're part of a greater nation, But I mean, if you have a group of individuals I um if you have a group of individuals like Catalonia. I'm not going to say whether or not I support Catalonian independence, but Catalonia, where these people, they speak a different language than Spanish. I mean, a lot of them do speak Spanish, but and they've been thriving, or not thriving. They've been striving to be independent for a while. Maybe it's time to give it a shot. And I mean, the same goes for Scotland. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland have been they've been, for lack of a better term, they've been fighting for independence for such a long time. And I mean, pretty much no response from the British government to make the United Kingdom, to disunite the United Kingdom. I understand that it would take away from you know, it would take away from Britain's presence on the global stage, but at the cost of some land and some prestige there, it would really heighten the historical case for the United Kingdom not being the antagonists. Not that I think the United Kingdom is an antagonist on the global stage, much like people have preconceptions that Germany is an aggressor nation on all accounts because of their role in the First and Second Great War. Those preconceptions aren't true. No nation is. I don't believe that any nation is more or less a part of an aggressor status than any other. All governments, none of them are perfect, but I think a lot of people look at the United Kingdom and associate the colonial history with what the nation stands for. And I mean, while colonialism is a big part of the United Kingdom, think of everything that the United Kingdom has given the world, like in the ways of arts, in the ways of sciences, and I mean, the same can be said for the Arabic speaking world. Look at everything that the Fertile Crescent has given to the the English speaking world through the diffusion via the scientific revolution. you know while alchemy and things were being, while mass improvements to things like alchemy and things like things like chemistry and things like of the sorts, while things like that were taking place, it was the Dark Ages in Europe. And I mean, we have a lot of the Arabic speaking world to thank for the developments that we make, even independent from them, because I mean, it's like skipping stones. You can take that first leap, and then you can have that big you have that big development, like the development of the airplane eventually led to the development of jet technology. It's really an extraordinary thing, technology. And I mean, to really wrap this up, I think that everyone involved in I think politics is a very dangerous game, and something that people really tend to tiptoe around. But I mean, at the core, every individual is striving for self-determination and just trying to make the best life that they can have. Some people work in the disinterests of others to further their own agenda. I don't mean that in a political sense. I mean through greed. Sometimes through political means can people further their own agenda without any repercussion to their own, or maybe they dampen those repercussions by seizing power. But I mean, people are trying to further their own, and with the collaboration of the nations on this planet, which there are, I think, around 139 recognized, with the collaboration of those individuals, we can further culture, we can further science, we can further technology, all those things that we should do as a society, we just don't do. And I think it's very important to recognize international affairs and the differences between East and West being a wall, like sometimes literally a wall that really strikes a dagger in the heart of progress in the name of getting a leap ahead. Look at all the money that was dumped into the space program. Well, I'm very thankful that a great number of nations have had some cooperation in the space program. Were that not true, the space race did Neil Armstrong put the flag on? I know he was the first man on the moon, but I don't know if he was the man that put the flag on the moon. But that would have been billions of dollars wasted, and for no real benefit other than to have a leg up over the Soviet Union. But it eventually did lead to things like the International Space Station. So it was for the collective good, and a collective good like that, those things should be celebrated, and those things should be targets of the governments of the world. But I've talked my ear off. I've talked my own ear off. Can you believe that? Very, very not joke heavy. It's kind of serious. So, it's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. I don't know when I'm gonna record another one of these. I don't even know if I'm gonna put this together tonight. It is currently the 30th of October, and yeah, I don't know. Thanks for listening to me rant. Toodaloo. I'll see you guys all in the next, or I guess you'll hear me in the next episode if you decide to listen. If not, whatever. Alright, bye.